tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika, chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya utamaduni, tumaini letu wakati wa mafarakano. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima.
You're watching us live here at Humanist TV Africa. This is Humanist TV Africa. My name is Katom Kassan, and in the studio is Dennis Bongle to do the production. And of course, we are having our panelist, our co-host, of course, Pastor Solomon Male, who is going to be sharing with us lots of information about CULTS, and of course, helping our people learn better about avoiding CULTS. Now, Humanist TV Africa is a registered charity. We are an NGO registered to do media work in the world. And as I speak, we have studios in Uganda, Kenya. We have studios in Nigeria, Ghana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, UK, and the US. And we keep growing every day, sharing information, empowering each other. I want to encourage you to please subscribe to our Facebook, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and of course our website is Humanist TV Africa. Join us today again as we share with you, as we empower you, as you empower us. And of course today, the topic is Understanding CULTS with Pastor Solomon Male and The Bitter Truth, which is the name of this show. Welcome, Mr. Male.
Thank you very much, my brother Katom Kasa. It's a pleasure featuring yet again on Humanist TV Africa. It's a pleasure to be here. Of course, there are so many challenges in this country and in Africa. People face a lot of difficulties. When you come to Uganda right now, farmers are experiencing lots of losses. Maize farmers harvested at the time of planting. Maize was about 1,800 to 2,000 shillings a kilo. Many planted. Right now at harvest time and selling time, maize is between 400 and 500 shillings to a farmer. That is ex-farm price. So farmers are not making any profits. Many are contemplating actually pulling out of farming altogether. But my encouragement is don't give up. Change is like rest. The challenge we have is that Europeans or the West have maintained what they call agriculture subsidies. And they've compelled us through IMF, World Bank, and other donor agencies to remove each and every subsidy from our economy. The buffer, what we call the stabilizing fund, agriculture stabilizing fund, was removed. It used to be there during Obote 1, during Amin's regime, and during Obote 2. During Museveni's time, it was scrapped. And of course, mainly because during his days in the bush, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni used to use these very funds, the stabilizing funds, cooperative funds, and so on and so forth, to use these weapons and to recruit traitors. So when he got into power, he knew that if he doesn't curb their powers, others could as well use them. So that's why he scrapped those subsidies, of course under direction from my end, but he also wanted it. Otherwise he would have resisted. So right now, without agricultural subsidies, they say we have free trade, free prices, free market, but the poor are going poorer, and the so-called investors from the West and East Asia, they're actually coming here and ripping off Ugandans, getting richer, getting all their profits and investing it in their own countries or taking it back to their own countries. And our people plunged more in despair. And with such a scenario, many wondering why things are not working out, contemplate going to shrines, contemplate going to cults to be prayed for, also that things can work, because naturally things have failed. So that's why we have a challenge. In as much as we are trying to fight cults to create awareness for the public, for the citizenry, government is actually pushing people down the drain of cults. And to me, as a lead fighter, it's very, very disturbing. And that's why I've concentrated on awakening the masses, opening their eyes, opening their minds, so that they can know the truth. And as Jesus said, so that that truth can set them free. Let me tell you, my brother Katomukasa, the only stabilizing fund that has remained in this country is for the white man's dollar, pound, and euro. In Bank of Uganda, European Union has representatives, World Bank has representatives, even these IMF have representatives. So they are there to control our economy according to suit their interests. So right now, the only commodity, the only item that is being regulated by government and by taxpayers' money is the foreign currency. When when market forces are pushing the dollar down the drain, what government does is to buy that dollar, get it off the market so that it can gain value. And when it is being overvalued, the Uganda shilling is failing. What government does is to push dollars onto the market from Bank of Uganda. Then the rate stabilizes. That is where the stabilizing fund is. But in what really benefits the masses, that stabilizing fund is not there. Today, I was on radio. I met a young boy. The mother is a mere, you know, this Toninjira. She cooks food and then sells it off. Cooked food. Her son has a heart problem, cardiac problem. They are trying to raise 30 million, but that 30 million is not there. Even the little that they raise, they use it in transport and to feed. The boy is about 14. The doctors recommended in 2023, that was around October, that the boy be taken to India for cardiac surgery. But the parents have failed, the mother has failed. And I'm afraid that boy may die before the money is raised. There was a scenario years back. My friend's father was in Mulago Heart Institute. Then there was this little girl from Gayaza Junior School. And this girl had a heart problem. They had been trying to raise money months until the school, Gayaza Junior School, decided that no, since Good Samaritans are not coming to the rescue, so they decided that they apportion the money so that even students, parents can contribute. So during the following term, they raised money, and money was raised eventually. But by the time it was raised, the child was too weak to get into India. And to cut the long story short, the girl died. You remember the musician for whom there was even a car wash. By the time the money was raised, the musician had died. This continues on and on unabated. And what do we see, my brother Kato? Government sinking billions, every budget into a hospital that's not taking off. That is Ruwa Hospital, given over to Pineti. By consent of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the Fountain of Honor, Yoweri Kaguta Saabalwanyi Museveni Saabayekera. Sometimes I sit and wonder whether we have leaders in this country. What I usually come up with is that we have rulers, not leaders. Because what leaders would do is to address the needs of the masses, to lead people toward goals of beneficial permanence. But what we see, seeing money into a hospital that's knocking up. The minister herself, Jane Ruth Acheng, goes to have first-hand information on the hospital. She's bad entry. Leader of the opposition, bad entry. Then the speaker says, no, my deputy, you go there and see what is really happening. The deputy does not go. What do you think that works up to? Is there a hospital, or this is just a siphoning scheme so that money is sunk in there and then stolen? Alternatively, I was viewing a video from Nigeria, where the mafia have taken over the health care system. Why? For organ trade. You're hospitalized for, say, one problem. By the time you leave the hospital, a kidney is gone. So could be the Luwa hospital is also being prepared for that. That's why it's a no-go area for even the minister of health, who's supposed to oversee that hospital. So that is the sad news in this country. Otherwise, I've been fair. My friend, dear friend, Daniel Bossa was killed. Ingniadan Bossa, head of Ndiga clan, was killed as he was approaching his gate. The killers tried to flee, and the Wananchi, the populace, went after them, grabbed them, beat them. One died on the spot, the other is still in the hospital. But what does that add up to? When people are fed up, next is taking the law into their hands. When there is systemic failure. Over the years, people are being killed. The Muslim sheikhs are being killed. Kagezi killed Joan. Andrew Felix Kawesi killed. Chirumira killed. Major Chigunu killed. Many others are killed every now and then. Does police come up with answers? No. So what has happened to the populace? They are fed up. And I congratulated them for killing that person. Not that I support mob justice, but just to drive the point home that our justice system is totally broken down. Our security enforcement or law enforcement system is totally broken down. You see, unless such acts happen, and then these criminals are ambushed by the populace and then mauled and probably killed, government will not wake up to the fact that these people are fed up with the systems. One day I wrote to the president, I think 1980s, 2000s, and the means of ethics. And I said, mob justice is not a deliberate attempt to flout the law, but a result of frustration by the systems due to previous attempts to get justice and redress in vain. People have not taken the law into their hands because they want, but because they've realized that when you get a criminal, take him to the justice system, a few months or days down the road, you'll see that criminal out, probably on bond or order from above. So now people are asking, why should we let them off the hook? So they are handling themselves, which is really dangerous, because in so doing, even the innocent are paying the price. Yet no one should be killed without being listened to. But because of the circumstances, that is happening. So my friend Danny Bossa was killed, but then I saw police coming up with a very, 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 very faked up chapter in their schemes of killing cases. You know what happened? Recently, Pastor Kayanja, the sodomite, the boys who accused him of sodomizing them, he caused their arrests. He even wanted me arrested, Senyonga arrested, Sempa arrested, Bujing arrested, and others. Okay, in as much as I'm not at par with the Bujingos and so on and so forth, when it comes to sodomy, whoever is contributing toward the fight against sodomy, I'd recognize that. The other evils aside, I would recognize that. Now, his lawyers write that we are all arrested and charged for paying boys to falsely accuse him. And my argument was, why should I pay boys to falsely accuse him of sodomy when I have victims whom he sodomized, who cannot deny, whose evidence I have? I said, no, this man is a joke. Now, police goes ahead for the first time in the history of this country. Probably you, my brother Katome, you know better, since you're a lawyer. In a court, police, what they call the expert Omukugu, comes up with what they call matrix. That on this date, Senyonga called Chiganda, and Chiganda then also called this one and this one. That was the plot. And then Kayanja on his TV, before his congregation, deceives that, you see, these people were conniving. This is how they plotted the whole thing to tarnish me. He does not say he doesn't sodomize. Not that does he say he sodomizes, but then he says boys being paid to accuse him. Now, Kato, in all your studies and you stay here, have you ever seen a court case where this brings up the call matrix, the call web? Mare called Kato at this time. Mare was in Kawempe. Kato was in UK. Have you ever seen such a call log?
No. I've not. At least in that case, I've not seen it. We are watching us live. This is Humans TV Africa. On this line in the studio is Pastor Malay. Remember, Humans TV Africa works worldwide. I'm in the UK and Pastor Malay is in Uganda. Sometimes the network is a challenge. It gets off and on. And of course, be back to share with us. Pastor Malay is a known advocate for human rights and the defender of the vulnerable. I've worked with him over the years, and one of the things he was working on was to protect young people against people that sexually abuse them, and I was supporting him. I was supporting Pastor Malay to protect young people against mature people, adults that sexually abuse them, and that includes homosexuality, because homosexuality should be something, in my view, that must not be forced on anyone, just like heterosexuality. So Pastor Malay has been discussing a bit of that, but of course a bit of the politics in Uganda. As I normally say, Uganda is my country, and my country is a failed state. I would say that because nothing works in Uganda apart from corruption. In Uganda, corruption works very well, but the system doesn't work. Pastor Malay has been sharing with us the recent murders in Uganda, where a prominent clan leader, Bossa, was killed. Engineer Bossa was killed, and somehow the killers, one of them was also lynched on the spot because definitely there was a failure for their motorbike to take them off the scene. It was just an act of luck, I think. on the part of the lynching guys. Otherwise, they would have gone away with the murder. In Uganda, murders are increasing. People are becoming insecure in a way because it is easy for someone to hire a gunman to shoot you. There are so many guns in wrong hands in Uganda. All of us, by the way, worry so much. When you are in Uganda, you worry. If someone there worries, he doesn't have a guard, he moves alone. Sometimes it takes an act of faith because Pastor Mike has criticized all these bad guys in the country, but he has no bodyguard. In fact, if God exists, it should be the God of Pastor Mike because at least that God protects him or he trusts that God. Otherwise, these pastorpreneurs, as I call them, who have bodyguards, a pastor has like 5 bodyguards, 10 bodyguards, for what? If there is that God you think you are worshiping, why does that God really protect you? Now, today, Pastor Mane was giving us a background. You always excuse us because we are live. This is not a recorded YouTube channel. This is a TV. We are different from these other YouTubes. For us, we are TV. We do direct shows, just like any other TV. We are TV. We are not a YouTube. So we are live. When Pastor Mane goes up, just know network is disturbing us, but it's going to be back. Now, Pastor Mane is back. He has given us introduction. I'm sending my condolences to the family of Mr. Bossa. And of course, I wish that the perpetrators of the crime can be apprehended and arrested. Pastor Mane was causing a scenario. As a lawyer, I keep on listening because, of course, when I was in Uganda, I never really practiced the law the way it should be practiced. Because how do you go to a court when you have to bribe from the clerk? You have to bribe a clerk, you have to bribe a magistrate, you have to bribe a judge. I mean, things don't move. Even winning a case is one thing, but getting paid for the money that the money, if you are a lawyer against a government and you win a case, to get your money back as a law firm, our law firm was always in trouble. Win a case against government, but to pay, the PS wants money. Everyone wants money in the line. You are getting like 100 million for your clients, and about 30 million are going into corruption. But at the end of the day, they want to account. Yet they have taken a better part of the money. Nothing works in Uganda, personally. Me, I keep on just listening because I was fed up with the system. I know you guys are heroes that actually keep on exposing this system because it's rotten. Nothing works in my country apart from corruption. As I normally say, the corruption docket is working so well. You can imagine how a member of parliament, a leader of the so-called opposition, I want to go there. I won't even mention names. These are my friends. But a leader of the so-called opposition sits in a committee and allows who accepts to be given a service award of 500 million Uganda shillings. And it's one of, no one else is going to get it. It's only him. And he's barely 2 years in the office, but he's getting a service award. Barely 2 years because that was 2022. Now, this is just a by the way, for those following our politics in Uganda. Now, you see that those guys who want to save us from Museveni are corrupt. Pastor Mane always tell you, I don't trust the opposition in Uganda. I always tell everyone who listens to me. I don't trust the opposition in Uganda, so I don't support Museveni at all. But when you have thieves, a class of thieves in the bucket called A, and a class of thieves in the bucket called B, the B thieves are waiting for the A thieves to leave. So what is the replacement for? Dead system. The guys in waiting are corrupt, and heavily corrupt, and the guys they want to lodge off are also heavily corrupt. Now, if the leader of opposition can be compromised to take 500 million, I come from Ruengo, Pastor Mane. Ruengo, my district, is one of the most struggling districts in Uganda. Yet we are just near Kampala, but we are struggling. We cannot raise even 100 million as taxes from the people within Ruengo. And the person allegedly, not even allegedly, because he accepted, the person who was the leader of opposition comes from my own district. In fact, we come from the same sub-county. Now, you can imagine now. I'm showing you how bad it is now. If someone, you come from a district where we cannot even raise 50 million in taxes, I'm sure we cannot even raise 50 million in taxes from my district. But we're taking 500 million on top of the 1.7 billion you are given as a leader of opposition to manage that docket for 1 year. On top of getting about 40 millions you get every month, you still want to be given 500 million. Now, which type of leaders?
He's not even remorseful.
You're not even remorseful.
No shame, no remorse.
You go on Sabasaja Kabaka's radio and you brag. You see, I was driving a Benz before I went. These are my friends. We are together. These are my friends. That's why I'm not even mentioning them. But sometimes I get offended. And I say, honestly, if you have reached at this level, even the opposition cannot save anyone. They are saving themselves. What can Ugandans do? The end result is they go to churches. Now you go back to the topic of the day. Because no one saved them. They have no hope. There is no medicine. And there is a pastor here, like Pastor Bujingo with a big mouth. He's saying, come, I give you blessing. There is a Kakande here. There is a Kayanja here. There is Pastor XYZ. They go to pastors because they think these ones understand their problem. So, Pastor Malay, we shall not go into politics now. Let us go back to the main topic of the day. We are looking at CULTS.
Okay.
Because this program is yours. It is the bitter truth. Actually, I keep on keeping quiet because I want you to speak. And we are saying today, we want to understand CULTS. And you are going to give us an introduction of CULTS. And then we keep on digging deeper as other shows will come on. So let us understand, what are CULTS? How do we see CULTS?
Thank you very much, my brother. CULTS is a very, very why I started fighting CULTS. I've discovered a lot. I've done research extensively. I was part myself in a cult. And when we try to look at CULTS and then we pick out individual groupings, then we are not doing a service. I'll give you a broad background. In 1978, it was November, I think November 18th, the world awoke to the murder of over 914 followers of the People's Temple Christian Church. This was in Guyana. One of the victims of that church, of Pastor Jim Jones, was Senator Ryan of the US, who had gone there to see if his people could get out of that cult and travel back to the US with him. They were murdered with guns and then two with poison. Those who refused to take poison, purportedly administered as Holy Communion, were gunned to death. Senator Ryan's plane was shot. Ryan was killed on the runway. So all that happened. That was 1978. That was the survivors tell the story, very horrific story. You don't even want to hear it, but we'll be learning about them as we go on. Then 1993, it was about March. Another group, these were called Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Church. These were based in the US, Waco, Texas. David Koresh, leader, over the years was piling weapons in his bunker. At this was a church. It was a killer house.
Pastor Mala explained to us what happened to David Crush.
On
David
the
Crush.
fateful day,
Pastor Mala,
David Koresh
they are explaining
got information
house and giving the example.
So
the producer may get the audio of Pastor Male, perhaps get his video off so the audio can be much more clearer. There on the screen, we are seeing David Crush, one of those pastors that operated and end up killing so many people during his time. David Crush, just like we have seen the first case of another pastor, David Crush, operated right there, and of course was able to successfully deceive so many people, thousands of people, leading to a standoff, and of course leading to death. In fact, there was a death of so many people, including himself there, losing his life. Now, people have been always duped to go into cults. Cults are not only in Uganda, they are not only in Nigeria or Africa. Cults are all over the world. There have been cults in the US. We have just had the first example of the biggest cult in the US, where we see Jim Jones, the cult that actually even successfully deceived a member of the Senate, a big politician going to be there, and of course becoming a victim of this cult. These cults had musicians in them. These cults have so many people following them. They were gathering so many people, had so much respect, but people end up losing their lives. So Pastor Male is explaining to us this cults. Pastor Male, because of the internet, you went off when you discussed David Crush. I will request you to go back a bit and explain to us who was David Crush and what happened. Go back a bit.
David Koresh was a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Later on, he disagreed with the mainstream and broke off and formed his own Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Church. When he formed it, he started prophesying that there would be a prophetic showdown, and he called himself David, root of the branch of David. So that's why he called his group the Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Church. Actually, he won very many Adventists to his church. I remember a young woman who saw the showdown, and she said the prophet had talked about the attack by the US forces, so I've got to go back. The end is coming. So her family tried to intervene and they failed. But later on, the security ring that was besieging the Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist cult Waco, Texas facility, they blocked her. She stayed in a hotel until it all got over. Then that's when she came to the bitter truth. She learned the bitter truth that actually, had she been allowed in, she would have also lost her life in there. That is Pastor David Koresh. The other was Pastor Jim Jones, Reverend Jim Jones. This is now David Koresh. Now, then there was the Solonites Temple. Solonites Temple had followers in Canada, had followers in Switzerland, had followers in Belgium. It woke up one day and members in there had been killed. by the group leaders. Over 50 died, and many more continued dying mysteriously. Now, then come to Uganda in 2000, where the notorious Chiwete-led group, Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments of God, killed over 1,000 people by the 17th of March 2000. They were promising them that Jesus was coming back, Holy Mary was coming back. Then they locked up in their facility in Kanungu and burnt them. At that time, I just started talking about cults. And when that incident happened, I saw myself as the person to spearhead the fight against cults in this country. And I've lived for that purpose until now. That is Chiwetere and Credonia Mwerinde. This group had clerics, Catholic clerics. Father Kataribaho, Credonia Mwerinde, then Joseph Chiwetere. All these were notorious Catholics, and they won very many Catholics. Some of the people were killed in there, included relatives of politicians, soldiers, and so on and so forth. But all these people were first ripped off, and after being ripped off, then they were murdered. It was so horrific. It had never happened at such a scale in this country called Uganda. That was 2000. Recently, we had Pastor Paul Mackenzie. That is in Kenya. Many people have died. Actually, the actual number may never be established because he was killing them slowly, gradually, telling them to fast. Then he kills them. Pastor Mackenzie, he's already in jail. He's facing trial, but I wonder if his victims will ever get justice because many of them died, were killed. And even when he's finally convicted, the life that is lost will never be recovered. They'll never be brought back to life. That's why I say it's important to understand what cults are rather than doing postmortems when havoc has already been done. You remember Bishop Gilbert Dare? This was a UK-based pastor bishop who was masterminding a scheme of stealing children in Uganda and Kenya, trafficking them through Kenya to the UK as miracle babies. Bishop Gilbert Dare tried to resist deportation to Kenya, but eventually he was deported to Kenya, where he's in jail with his wife. With his wife. You see how people collude. Cults. We are talking about cults. Over the years, I've done a lot of sensitizing, a lot of education, schools, churches, radio, TV, but still people are as if nothing has been told them. They continue going wholesale. And the reason I discovered was when you talk about one group, say Kakande, and you call it a cult, they'll say, but he performs miracles, which are of course fake. Then they ask now, where do we go? Then they go to the alternative. When they go to the alternative, Sebujingo, it's the same case. When they go to Kayanja, it is sodomy. Now people are confused. They don't know what to do. That's why on this program, I've volunteered that let me educate the masses about cults. We would have handled the program in Uganda, but because cults are widespread, they are not only in Uganda. In the US, you saw David Koresh. In Guyana, you saw Pastor Jim Jones killing even a US senator, Senator Ryan, and even journalists. In Europe, you've seen the Solonites Templars. Then you see, even in Japan, there was a Tokyo subway murder where a cult group killed people in a Tokyo subway by, they call it nerve gas, which they used to choke the passengers and they died. Now Kenya, cults. Now in Uganda, Chiwetere. When you go to Nigeria, there was this prophet who recently died, and people are complaining
TB Joshua. TB Joshua.
TB Joshua. When you go to South Africa, there was a pastor who was recruiting young women, having sex with them, then killing them, and then claiming life insurance over their corpses. So a lot of things are happening. People are being told to eat grass, others are ripped off. You remember UCKG in Uganda, they ripped off a woman, Frances Adroa, took her car, allegedly deceiving her that she would be cured of HIV if she sold her car. She gave her car, she nearly lost her life until I intervened and got the car from them. They sued me that had defamed them. My argument was that a thief cannot be defamed. We eventually won the case, but we were never awarded costs. But anyway, that's another different story. But I've done a lot in fighting cults in this country. You've seen the victims of sodomy that I've stood for and supported have ended up being convicted for crime I've never committed. That I falsely accused Kayanja of sodomizing the boys, yet he did, because this man has state patronage. And what people should realize is that these cults are so shrewd. Everywhere that you go, they have what we call state patronage. Even when operatives are sent into them to spy on them, they end up recruiting those operatives. It happened in the Branch Davidians, it happened in Guyana, it happened in the Solonites Templars. Even this man Paul Marquez was doing that. Chiwetere was doing it. I remember Chitaka Gawera. He even went, visited the group, and then authenticated it as a true religion. So a lot of things happening. That's why it's important to understand what cult is. When you understand what cult is, then you start matching each and every group with what you've learned what cult is. Just think of this. You see people in church wielding guns, pastors in church wielding guns, sheikhs, clerics in mosques wielding guns, having escorts and so on and so forth. And you call that churches, or you call that religious entities? These are cults. Now, let us understand what the term cult means first and foremost. What is a cult? Cult generally has 4 definitional perspectives. Perspective means 4 different groups of people define a cult in probably differently or similarly, but we'll see that. So now cult has 4 different definitional perspectives. There's what we call the primary definitional perspective. The second is the anthropological stroke sociological definitional perspective. When we mean primary, is what a dictionary, what an encyclopedia, what has been defined as cult from time immemorial. That is the primary definition. Now, anthropological stroke sociological, sociologists and anthropologists, these are people who study human nature, human behavior, society in general. It's what they call cult. So they have given their own definition or perspective. Then there's what we call the general public definition of the term cult. The general public includes people. They may be educated, probably with PhDs. They may be holding high offices, probably ministers, presidents, lawyers, generals, army officers, police officers. They may be holding such offices, engineers, lawyers, medical doctors, but they've nothing. They don't know anything about sociology, stroke, anthropology, or sociology. They don't even understand what the primary definition is. These are people you meet and ask them what a cult is. And they give them what they understand as a cult according to their own understanding. A general person, what a person calls a cult. Probably you, my brother Kato, when you're told about a cult, if I define a cult using those 2 definite perspectives, you'll be lost. But when you're asked about a cult, you'll say Chibwetere, you'll say Kakande, you'll say Kiri, you'll say Mothers. So these people, the general public defines a cult with evidence of wrongdoing. when there is no evidence of wrongdoing, they will never think that that can be a cult. And many times, people wake up too late when the evidence surfaces and they are the victims or part of the victims. So the public has what they call cult. These define cult when things have happened. Chiwetere was never a cult according to people's, the general public, until people were burnt, until the fires and flames of Kanungu on the 17th of March 2000. David Koresh was a religion until the death in March and April 1993. Jim Jones was a reverend, pastor, People's Temple Christian Church, until the murders by poison and guns. That's when he started being defined as a cult, and his group as a cult group. Now, then there is the fourth definition. The fourth definition is what we call the doctrinal definition. Doctrinal definition of the term cult is given by people who study theology, who study religion, who study the science of God and man, or gods and man. There is also what they call cult. Now, if you are to understand cult using one definition or perspective, you are at a loss. If you want to understand it all, then you need to understand the fourth definition of perspective. Today, I'm going to start on the grueling journey of understanding cult according to the first definition perspective, which is given by the encyclopedia, given by the dictionary. And that is what we call the primary definition of the term cult. What is a cult according to the primary definition? Cult is any organization with a system of beliefs, a system of practices, a system of rituals, a system of teachings that one joins. And when that person joins, that group uproots whatever that person has been knowing as the truth, knowing as the practice, knowing as the ritual. That person is emptied. That person is brainwashed. Okay? And then new teachings, new rituals, new practices, new beliefs are imparted. It is derived from the Latin farming term cultus. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Of course, I have many questions.
Okay.
I have many questions,
Okay.
but normally I want you to speak. Now, think
You
about
wanted to
this, Pastor
interject.
Mari. Yes, of course, I am. Think about this. I was born in a Catholic church setting. My mother is Catholic. My father is Catholic. I simply rejected those things as I grew up. When I was about maybe 15, I saw there was no meaning in it. But when I was growing up, my mother, a strong Catholic up to she's 80 plus, was taking me to church. And it was a must to go to church. Now, in your definition, someone removes what you have and gives you something new. In the definition, in my own practice, you were a Muslim. You were born in a Muslim setting. They took you to a mosque, I think, as a child. By the time they took you as a child, maybe you were about 5 years or 3, your head had a clean slate. Your mind, your brain was clean. They gave you Islam. Me, they gave me Catholicism. All the nonsense of Mary, whatever it is, whatever it was, they gave it to me here. And I crammed it as gospel truth. Now, in your first definition, you say
Mm.
that this one removes what you have and gives you something different. Now, for
Mm-hmm.
me, in my own experience,
Uh-huh.
I never had anything. I was a kid. But the same Catholicism gave me all their crap into my head. They taught me the idols, they taught me so many things which were not even true, but they were true. Until when I grew up and said, is it possible that this idol, this image, this statue really is a god? I began questioning these popular things I was seeing growing up. Now, me thinks, and I know you are going to be more diplomatic, but I'm giving you my own thought. Me, I think that even Catholicism itself, if you are going to define a cult using the yardstick of your second part, is also a cult because it gives me its own ideology, which I must accept. But I think that because it's the other upper religion, which is supported by the state, which actually is supported by the world system, no one will ever say Catholicism is a cult. I'm just giving it as an example. But we are going to say that Pastor Malen's church is a cult. We are going to say that Ujingo's church is a cult. But
let's get back to the definition.
Yes, the
Mr.
definition. Yes, sir.
Mr. Kato,
yes.
I'm doing so professionally, ethically, because I want people to understand. There are people who are born in a cult. The definitions I'm talking about were given long ago.
Yes.
They've not just come yesterday, but we've lived with them. Even before Catholicism, these definitions were there.
Okay.
Okay? These definitions were there. So now, I'm saying cult is an organization with a system of beliefs, practices, teachings, and rituals that uproots what one believes and what one practices, and then plants into him or her its own beliefs, practices, teachings, rituals, etc.
Pause.
Now, it is derived from the Latin farming term cultus. Cultus means cultivation.
Pastor
Now, let us look at cultivation, what it means.
Okay. Slowly. We will go back slowly. I'm a student, you are the teacher now. I'm a student who is asking questions.
Yes.
For the sake of my audience, you are the teacher on counts. I'm saying that definition is biased. That's why I'm giving you my own example.
No.
But you say,
Mr. Kato,
wait.
Mr. Kato,
first wait.
Just be patient. I'm elaborating. You are saying it is biased, but I'm elaborating. I want to explain.
Okay, go ahead.
Wait, you
go ahead. I'll keep quiet now. Go ahead.
Derived from the Latin farming term cultus. Cultus means in cultivation. Let us look at virgin land, which has bush, which has this and that and that. If you want to use it economically, what do? You clear the land. Now, the ground preparation, clearing the bush, and all that, that is equated to the cultic practice of one brainwashing.
Yes.
Brainwashing.
I agree.
Let me give you an example. Let me refer to your Catholic Church. During the times of Martin Luther, the Catholic Church wanted to raise money. The Pope wanted to raise money to build St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. At that time, Martin Luther was a monk. Then there was Johannes Tetzel, who was a reverend, a clergy. Then the Pope said, how do we raise money from our masses? Then they said, no, that is very, Tetzel said it is very easy. People love their dead. If you talk about their dead, they'll give you all that they want, all that you have. Formerly, the Catholic Church was not teaching that it is salvation by works. Now, Tertizel invents a trick to extort money from those desperate to have their relatives see heaven. So he's saying that if you have someone who sinned and died, there's a possibility of praying for that person so that his body, his soul is gotten from hell and it goes to a second heaven called
Purgatory.
Purgatory.
Purgatory, yeah.
The more the prayers, the more that soul keeps going toward God, so that in the end it can end up in heaven. Then 2, if you committed the sins and you brought money, okay, when you give that money, then the sins are forgiven. You can be forgiven sins of last year, sins of yesterday, sins you've done today, and sins you'll commit next week. You just go to a priest and repent and pay the money.
You got the
That is
penitence
total brainwashing.
Yes.
Penitentia. That is total brainwashing. That is why Martin Luther stood up. Actually, Tertizel added that if you want a dead person's soul to get out of hell and go to purgatory, then you pay money. Once the money falls at the bottom of the collection box, then the soul is catapulted from hell to purgatory. Because people love their dead. People sold their properties. People sold their lands. They raised money. The Pope raised money. Martin Luther stands up and says, no, we are not saved by works. We are saved by the blood of Jesus that was spilled. We don't need works again. We are saved by grace. It was during that scuffle that the Pope ordered that Martin Luther be transferred to Rome for imprisonment. So Martin Luther is taken to Rome. When he goes to Rome, he had a feeling that Rome was a see of holiness, because even Rome is called the Holy See. The Pope is called the Holy See. He thought he was going to see holiness there. What does he witness when he goes to Rome? He witnesses a Pope who is involved in sodomy orgies, a Pope who is involved in drinking sprees, throwing parties and parties. Martin Luther is so disappointed, and he wrote that if I had powers, if you're going to save men, then St. Peter's Basilica should be broken down, brought to robbers, because he saw the evil of the highest order in Rome. So now, when he started talking about it, he's again transferred back to Germany. And in Germany, he had written 95 theses at the church wall in Gothenburg, where he had condemned the penitentia, where he had condemned the indulgence, where he had condemned the pillaging of the poor, and so on and so forth. Then Martin Luther is taken to the Diet of Worms, which was a court, Catholic Church court. In the Diet of Worms, he's tried. When he's tried, he proves innocent. Actually, he out-reasons them, he outsmarts them. Who were there? Even German kings were there, because Germany didn't have one king. There was the Bavarian, the so on and so forth. So they were all there. So what they did, they plotted to have him dead. One of the kings decided to save him because he had won in the Diet of Worms. So as he was being taken away, going back to Wittenberg, then he's stopped immediately and then ambushed by one of the king's orders. Then he starts fighting them. They say, no, we are saving you from being killed. The Pope has ordered that because you have won, then you must be killed because you are a heretic. And that is how Martin Luther was saved. And then he started his own, the Lutheran movement, which has also been hijacked. Now, I just want to show you that the definition is not biased. The definition is broad. Yes?
Give me a minute. Give me a minute to add something there. In fact, I want to thank you because you are well schooled. I want to thank you so much because you are well schooled. I read in the entire history of theology of Martin Luther, and I will come up with that faction of how he started the Gutenberg press. In fact, one of the first Bibles is attributed to Martin Luther because the printing of that Bible, it was his effort. One of the first Bibles printed was actually by Martin Luther. So I thank you because the history you have given is accurate. I know it. I've been a scholar of religion for so many years. I know that it's true and you're accurate. But my point I'm making today is, as an ex-Catholic, I want to say, without fear of contradiction, that Catholicism is a cult.
Now, Mr. Kato, I'm not arguing against that. What I've tried to avoid was towing that conclusive line. I wanted to be broad so that each one now you can match your religion to a cult according to the definition.
Yes.
Even the Pentecostal will.
Yes. So I agree with you in a minute.
I'm giving you the yardstick that according to that definition, the Catholic Church qualifies for cult. I have no problem with that, and I will give you a tick because in my conscience, I'm clear and I know. What you've forgotten, Mr. Kato, is that a teacher is supposed to give you the principles. Then you apply the principles. So you are the teacher here. So you're saying, so now even the Catholic Church is a cult according to that definition, although it calls others a cult.
We agree.
Okay.
Now you said you are the teacher.
Cults are also calling others cults. That is the challenge. And because people are ignorant, for me, I've come up with a principle, apply them.
Exactly. Okay? I say, why am I asking this? Why am I saying this? Because I want the show to be more interesting and more informative and more educational. That's why I ask you these questions, because I know you and I are going to agree, but I want us, as the viewers, to be helped to understand that a cult, first of all, brainwashes its adherents, its followers. But a cult still calls others cults, but will never call itself a cult. So you find that the original denominations are never cults. For them, they are not cults, but they are going to call all other Pentecostals as cults. Why? Because for them, they say, for us, they found us here. We are not cults. But going by your definition, a cult, one principle from your definition is that a cult brainwashes. And this is what all religions do. Whether it is my African traditional religion or my ancestors, it brainwashes you. Whether it is Chiwetere, brainwashes you. Whether it is Bujingo, is brainwashing. Whether it is Malay, not Malay of course, whether it is Kayanja, is brainwashing. All guys having churches and religions are simply doing one thing, Pastor Malay. They are brainwashing people. Pastor Malay, if there was to be anyone who's right, you would have been the one, because you are not brainwashing anyone. And in fact, you are getting people out of the brainwashing. Kakande's brainwashing, Bujingo's brainwashing, TB Joshua is brainwashing. All these guys are doing one thing, brainwashing. So we need to help people understand, why did Jim Jones brainwash people? Why did Koresh brainwash people to the point of killing them in thousands, in hundreds? Why did Mackenzie of Kenya brainwash people? Because Jim Jones was brainwashing people. A brainwashing means what? It means that someone gets into your brain. Look at the People's Temple. Gets into your brain and make you think that whatever they are saying is the gospel truth. is the truth and the only truth. Now, Jim Jones ended up killing hundreds of people. You can see what happened. You can actually Google it and see what happened. Now, in brief, Pastor Malik, going back to you, and of course, giving my submission for today, is that we agree on the principles you have raised. I was simply tickling you a bit so that our viewers can be able to enjoy this show and understand properly that a cult, we will never admit that they are a cult. In fact, a cult can even take us to court and say they went to TV and they said, I'm a cult. They said, my church is a cult. Because no one will ever say, I am a cult. Why? It sounds bad. You are like a corn star. You are cheating people. You are telling them lies, because cults are similar to lies, are similar to extortion, are similar to brainwashing. So, Pastor Malik, I ideally agree with you completely. I agree with you. I was only driving a point to say, now you see, for them they are saying you're a cult, and for us we are not a cult. Yet me as an ex-Catholic, I'm saying even the Catholicism itself is a cult. These are all cults. But
what I'm doing is to give you the principle you apply. Actually, what I'm doing is to give you applied theology. Or applied, like they say applied mathematics. Now this is applied. These are applied procedures of identifying and defining a cult. You can get one group after another. Does it do ABCD brainwash? Yes, then this is a cult. I don't need to come out and say Makanda is a cult, Vijingo is a cult, and so, because just as you go on to labor exposing one group as a cult, you leave many others. They will say, you see, he's talking about that one, not me.
Yes,
yet, that's also a cult. That's why I'm giving you the principle. I said
that
virgin bushland must be cleared in cultivation and prepared for cultivation. This is to brainwashing or deprogramming. Brainwashing means you are made totally empty. Whatever you've been believing, whatever you've been doing is criticized. Until you actually let go, then you become empty. Everything good in you is criticized. Your past is criticized or removed from you. The past, especially if good, is criticized or rubbished, till a victim totally submits and denies it or sheds it off. There are so many people who have joined cults. They no longer want to identify as Vaganda. They don't want to identify as Bajoro. They don't want to identify as Vasoga. There's no me. I'm of the blood of Jesus. But even when you look at the blood of Jesus, sometimes I laugh, because the Jews who murdered Jesus, the bulk of them don't even believe that Jesus ever came. They don't even believe in salvation. They don't even believe in Christianity. Just about 2% of Jews are Christian. The rest are what we call, they practice Judaism. The Jewish religion, traditional Jewish religion. When they come here, we Baganda have their values. They don't sodomize, they marry. These groups come in with the sodomy. It is even in the pulpit. Baganda don't cheat. Baganda don't lie. But now you see people who have gone to church, they lie in the morning, lie today, they lie in the evening, they lie to politicians. They also manipulate politicians to give them money. Even the thieves, they know. So when you look at that, you realize that we are in times of the danger of cults. Now, when a victim is brainwashed, that victim loses what we call this hates or regrets about the past, and then gets ready or prepared to learn new teachings, new practices, new beliefs, new rituals, new actions everything, that person becomes expectant because he's empty. Kati chechiddako. What next? Now, at this point of brainwashing, a victim is so polarized. Polarization means that person cannot see himself or herself living without the group. Part of the group, full stop. This is where I belong. I'm a Catholic. Cannot see life outside Catholic religion. I belong to Miracle Center. Cannot see life outside Miracle Center. I belong to Kakande Synagogue. Cannot see life outside. Even one tries to live, they usually ask, how will you live without us? How will you manage without us? So many people are trapped in there. They don't know how they can manage after. That is what we call polarization. They don't see life beyond or life outside the group. A person who has been brainwashed looks at the cult leader as the total, the source of life, source of wisdom, source of livelihood, source of the future. He has the key to the future. Without that person, the future is not there. That's how these people in cults behave. Now, that person cannot define him or herself outside and without the group. That is what we call polarization. Now, think of homosexuality. A person joins the group, born with a male genitalia, another born with a female genitalia, and then is brainwashed to believe that although he has a penis or a male genitalia, he's a female, and start walking as a female, believing he's a female, then says, I'm a female, then goes to the extent of saying, I'm trans woman, transgender. When he's home in the bum, he says, well, it's okay. You see how that person is so much brainwashed to the extent of believing that his former self is not what he's supposed to be. And then you see him, someone saying, I'm a lesbian, I'm a transgender, I'm gay, I'm bisexual. A woman, a female, starts believing she's a male, walks like a male, goes to the toilets of a male, then says, now I've got to get a wife. That is a cult. Think of another. We believe homosexuality is normal. It is pleasurable. That it is healthier and sweeter. And then compare my brother Kato with the natural sex between a man and a woman, the natural way. You see how homos are brainwashed to believe the contrary of what they actually are, and the contrary of the reality. And you see them, they bear the fake happiness on the outside, but inside they are totally broken. Such brainwashing is typical of cults. Think of a man who goes to a church and is told that the wife you have has produced 6 children. The first one is yours, the second is not yours. The third is yours, the fourth is not yours, and the fifth is not yours. Do you think that man will stay with that woman? When he has been believing that all the children are his? Think of a woman who goes to a church and then she's told that your husband is a demon. He goes beneath the waters to sit in meetings with Satan. Do you think that woman will continue believing that that man is the husband? Let me give you 2 cases. About 1993-94, I was in a Ebenezer Church of Uganda. There are two couples that I admired. One of them was the Tibebagas. The man was dealing in clearing and forwarding. The woman was a businesswoman along William Street. The other was a Rule family. All of these two couples surrendered to Christ in KPC then. There was a film, Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames. When they went and attended it, they left when they had given their life to Christ. Now, not long later, Hope Tibebaga joins Apostle Mulinde's church, Trumpet Mission. Then she goes to the mountain, Seguku Prayer Mountain, to pray. While there, she's given a prophecy that the husband she has is not a human being, but a demon who goes beneath the waters, sits in meeting with Satan, and then comes back. And she was told that that is your husband always there at home? She says no. Sometimes he goes on safari. Say no, the safaris are not real business safaris, but the safaris are he has gone to meet in their usual meetings beneath the waters. So the woman believed it. Lived. One day the husband went back home when the woman had a whip and was whipping the man's coat. I say, what are you doing? He said, no, this is a demon. You've got to take all this out. If you know Kawepe police station, you know it's called Chiindi zone. Their home was in Chiindi zone. If you go to Kawepe police station, there are so many cases that were reported there. So the woman husband out of her own bedroom and then started staying in there with a man called Mugarura, who was from Seguku Prayer Mountain. In there, they would have sex, the woman and this new man. Tibebaga finally gave up and left the home. A man who was not drinking started drinking. He would even sleep on the road. He got so disappointed and broken. Then Mugarura's son also had sex with Hope's daughter, Tibebaga's daughter, and they got a pregnancy. Eventually, Mugarura died. The Tibebaga's children, some of them were in Chisubi, SMAC, the others, Makerere College School. They all dropped out of school totally. When you look at that family. Anyway, finally, Tibebaga died a very broken-hearted man because of the teaching, the brainwashing of the wife that the man not a human being was a demon. Now, you see, there are questions that we need to ask. How can a demon impregnate a human being? This woman never asked that question because she was polarized, brainwashed. When you are brainwashed, you cannot question everything you are told. You take it as the gospel truth, the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. She could not question. Hope Tibebaga's life was ruined. The man died at Mugarura. Tibebaga finds herself back into Tibebaga's home. Tibebaga had already got another woman. Look at how a cult breaks up a marriage and then finally a family and ruins people's lives. Cults are what. What happened to my friend? The woman goes to church. She's told the husband is a demon, not her husband. She started denying him sex. The man turned to drinking alcohol in his past. I remember took him on. When he took him on for 3 months, what happened? The family got divided up between the group pro mom, the other pro dad, and the other neutral. The family was broken down because of cults, because of brainwashing. And I asked a question. If you listening to this program or viewing this program If you are a man and are told that your husband is not a wife, if you're a man and told that your wife has given birth to children who are not yours, would you still continue with that woman? That would totally be no. Similarly for the woman, if you're told that the man is not a man but a demon, would you continue having sex with that man? No. These are tactics that are used to break up people's relationships, people's lives, and ruin them. There was Musoke. Musoke was a member of Holy Church of Christ, now the Synagogue Church of All Nations. I found him in there. One day Kakanda and his wife first told him that the wife he had was not his wife. And to prove it, the wife had produced children who were not his. This man was an educated banker working with Libyan Arab Uganda Bank, then now Tropical Bank Uganda Limited, as an accountant. He was brother to Thomas Katabira, who used to own SOSIS petrol station, which he sold off, and the money was stolen by the Kakandes, and it was renamed Gapuko Mandela petrol station, near the defunct ShopRite on Benichwanuka Street. Musoke is told that the wife he has is not his, because she has also produced children who are not his. Musoke got so broken-hearted and he asked, what do I now do? Said, you do away with her. Musoke moved out of their marital home, started renting. Then they gave her a woman who was an usher in the church called Teddy. Then a few months later, on the pulpit, Kakande stood and said that members of the church, yes, Musoke is a witch who wants you bewitched. He's blocking every prayer we pray for you. Do you still want him in this church? No. So it was publicly that Musoke was expelled. Musoke John then left the synagogue and joined Nabina Chiwolo's church. They were then in Kazo. Then they moved to Chengera along Mugongo Road. And they started there a facility called Mirembe Church. Musoke was a banker, educated, bachelor's, Makerere University, stroke banking, accounting. Musoke is brainwashed in there. He also dropped Teddy. And then the prophetess naturally told him that you are supposed to be my husband. And he became the husband of the prophetess. Along the way, another man comes into the church, younger, into the cult, younger. And then Binachuolo takes on that man. I've forgotten the name. And then Musoke is discarded. Then Musoke is given instructions. He has to resign from the bank. Musoke quit Tropical Bank, Libyan Arab Bank then. He left. Musoke started putting on tire shoes, ncha engato zebakola mipira motoka. Tire shoes.
Lugabire.
Kimraro. Lugabire. Musoke. Musoke. James Peter started being rented out as a laborer by the prophet and her husband. So Musoke would go out. Who negotiates the payment? The prophet and the husband. He goes out with other cult members. When he comes back, whatever money he has brought, he's supposed to throw at the prophetess's feet. If the prophetess is not satisfied, she gets a whip and whips them. Musoke was beaten, whipped. Uneducated man, Makerere University, former banker and accountant, manipulated into believing the life he had was not the life he was supposed to have. Totally brainwashed and now abused. Cults. When somebody is brainwashed, even the self-esteem goes. You know, each and every person has what we call self-value. Kato, you have what we call self-value. That is self-esteem. You have a price tag. Shakespeare said every person has a price tag. I also have a price tag. There's what I say, this I can't do, this I can't submit to. I have that area which I control, and that is the conscience. You cannot force me to worship you. The self-esteem of Musoke was gone. I remember I met him, that was around, it was I think around 2000. I tried to rescue him, and he told me that, brother, they are hearing everything that you are telling me. And I said, no one is hearing it. They are deceiving you. But he had gone to believe that Big Brother was watching. Cults. Dangerous. Now, with the cults, whether educated, whether illiterate, whether wealthy, whether poor, whether young, whether old, whether knowledgeable or not, everyone is gullible. You just need to take precaution. We've just at just one arm of cults definition, and we've done the introduction, and we've done the process of clearing the ground and equated it to the brainwashing, the deprogramming that takes place in a cult. It is a process of deprogramming, a process of brainwashing, a process of stupefying, where somebody, even when wise, starts believing he's a fool. Cult. After clearing and preparing the field, then comes the process of sowing seeds or planting. That can be equated to the cult process of reprogramming or indoctrination. In Luganda, also Hisili would also call it siasa. You see, you may think of cult as a religion, but cult can also be a political group. Cult can be a military group. Cult can be lethal. Cult can be religious. Cult can be economic. Cult can be military. Cult can be political. Once somebody is not given room to think, to reason, to understand, to see, to feel, to remain so as to take rational decision, any group that does that is qualified as a cult. And I've said, after clearing the ground, you've how do you call it? You've dug it up, you've slashed, you've cleared the bushes.
You plowed the ground.
You've plowed the ground. What happens next? You sow. Any prudent farmer would sow. What happens in cults? The sowing is equated to the indoctrination, to the reprogramming. Here, a victim is continually taught new ideas, new beliefs, new practices, new teachings, new rituals, hitherto unknown to that person. Hitherto unknown. Extraordinarily long sessions may take place where one has to believe by the time somebody leaves this place, he must be at this level of understanding. Jim Jones was doing it. David Koresh was doing it. It is happening in all churches today. You hear of the 77 dogs. What are you teaching someone Transnight? You hear the P5s. What are you teaching someone Transnight? You hear Trans Days. People leave their places of work. People leave their businesses. They leave chicken to attend to themselves. They leave cattle to attend to themselves. They leave shops to tend themselves, to attend to themselves. Customers to come in, sell to themselves. So they close. And then they go and sit Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Every day, at least 3 hours are committed to the group to learn. Then sometimes it is Transday, Transnight. That is a cult. That is a cult. Let me give you something that may impress you. 1987, I surrendered my life to Christ. I became number 2 in Makumbi's group as the secretary. During that time, Anglicans were celebrating the New Year on 1st January. And the New Year services were being conducted on 1st January. Catholic 1st January. The Pentecostals were also conducting on 1st January. What would happen was this. People would go to Pentecostal churches throughout the year. When it comes to Easter, Christmas, and the New Year, they go back to their traditional churches where they came from. Then the Pentecostals sat down. I was part of the team. These people go back every year, every New Year. Then they said, no, we need to hijack them before the New Year. That is how the trans nights of 31st were designed. Now we hear crossovers, Passovers, walkovers, and so on and so over. What is it about? At the end of the year and beginning of year, people have money. They are burdened with luggages. Some are barren, they want new hope. Some have had marital challenges, they want new hope. Some have been jobless throughout the year, they want new hope. Some have been having business challenges, they want new hope. Job challenges, they want new hope. Family challenges, they have new hope. Health challenges, they want new hope. When you promise them that if you have your money, you have a prayer request, whether for a man, whether for marriage, whether for job, whether for visa, whether for business, whether for what, just have it. Get this envelope, get the card out, write on it your prayer, your need. Enclose an offering, a seed. That seed is to force God to give you what you want in the new year. Then you bring that envelope. Wait until midnight. Don't give it to anybody. Bring it during the collection time. Give it over. Believe it. I make all things new. That's a good promise. People will believe it. So we designed that. When that was designed, then people started bringing money. They would come to church on 31st, spend the night in church, give the money over. 1st January, the Anglicans wait for them, they are not there. The Catholics, they are not there. Where are the Catholics? Where are the brethren? They say, no, they went for night prayer. Where? They went to Rubia, they went to Kololo, they went to Nachivo, they went to Serwadas. Then they say, oh, so these people are trapped. Oh, they are waylaid by these quacks on the 31st. Let us also now shift and go to the 31st. What is the difference between that quack and this new quack? And then you also come up with your envelopes. Church of Uganda. Oboli Nechizibu. Put in the envelope. Write on. It is God is making all things new. Crossover. The other is Passover. This one is crossover. The other is walkover. This one is jump over. It's the same. What is the difference? Which is not a cult. Okay? New beliefs, new tricks, new rituals, new practices. Don't you think we need questions? Our session is over delay. It is becoming too long. Ask questions. We'll start from there.
Yes.
I see you are not willing to stop.
Yes, I was not willing to stop because we're the teacher, I'm in the student, and I represent the audience. So the audience, when you see me not asking you questions, not interrupting you, it means that I'm enjoying the show and I want you to flow. But honestly, we have overshot our time, and it was very interesting. One thing I wanted to, it's not a question actually, it's just a confirmation of what I have said. I agree with you that a cult is not only in religion. A cult can be seen even in an NGO that I lead. A cult can be seen in a political party that I was part of, or I'm part of. It can be seen in any other environment. So as long as we understand the definition of a cult, that it goes beyond religion, as long as we understand the core values that make a cult, the core principles that make a cult, because these are not even values, the characteristics of a cult, then we know we are good to go. Because a cult, first of all, does not allow you to tolerate opinions that don't correlate with yours. I may have my opinions about, say, homosexuality, personally, but I have to allow you to speak because you have a right to speak your mind. Just like I have a right to have my own thinking about the same subject. So, but once I say, no, don't talk about homosexuality, don't criticize ABCD. So it means that I don't want my values, my views to be challenged. It means that I'm not tolerant at all. It means that whatever I'm following is a cult. Because the cult does not allow deviation, does not allow, you must be in one line. To me, even the army works as a cult. Even the army, the principles of the army, an army, soldiers, policemen, somehow at one point work as cult because order is order. Order means order. You must follow what the principal said. I was listening to stupidity from the Nook party. These youthful people from the NUP.
I'm losing you.
You are losing me? I'm going to repeat it. I'm saying that I was listening to political parties in Uganda, and recently people have been saying that Bobby Wine Tasovia. I'm freezing. It must be you. I think my network is okay. They have been saying that it's your network which is a bit okay, not okay. I will continue and conclude with this as Pastor Mane comes in. Now we are saying that what is a cult in this discussion for today with Pastor Mane? Anything that doesn't allow you to question whatever you have been told is a cult. Anything that brainwashes you and tells you this is the gospel truth, no one can question it, no one can deviate, becomes a cult. Why do we listen to Pastor Male when it comes to a platform like ours and actually criticizes, say, homosexuals? Why should we actually listen to that? Because he has a right to say it. And for us as thinkers, we listen and say, let us listen to his thought process and we see how do we respond to this. Otherwise, you allow the person to speak. Now, a church that is a cult will never allow you to speak contrary to what they believe in. A political party that is a cult will never allow you to criticize the leader. These days I hear people say, Baby Wine Tasovia. What the heck is that? What spirit is that? Baby Wine Tasovia. So what? Tasovia. That is nonsense. All of us make mistakes. All of us are prone to be guided. I hear Kabaka Tasovia. What are you talking about? Kabaka Tasovia. Kabaka Tasovia. Kabaka makes mistakes. So the moment you say Kabaka Tasovia, Baby Wine Tasovia, my church doesn't go wrong. My pastor doesn't go wrong. My leader doesn't go wrong. It means you are being brainwashed to think that this is the alpha and omega of thinking. So today we have been discussing cults. Pastor Man has given us a benchmark background to cults. And today he only identified one definition of cults. Today he handled one definition of cults. What defines cults? That anything that takes your brain, manipulates it, and makes you think that whatever they are telling you is right and gives you no room to question it, that is a cult. I gave the example of Catholicism, where I was raised, and I said that when I was young, I was told that everything they taught us was right. No one had a right to question. So later on, I realized that actually Catholicism is a cult. But again, you find that Catholicism also calls other religions cults. In summary, this is my view, and I personally respond in the next episode. My view is that all religions are cults. That is my view. And Pastor is back. We are going to be concluding. Pastor you are back. If you can hear me, the challenge was with your network. Of course, our viewers know that this is a live talk show. We are live always. This is not recorded. This is live. Pastor is right in Uganda, and that is his home. So whenever you see him going off, it's the network challenges of Africa. But otherwise, we are a live show. Pastor is back in the house. We are going to conclude. I was actually concluding on what you said today, that you defined a cult using one parameter, one definition. In the next show, you are going to give us the second definition of cults. And I was making my own affirmation that actually anything that doesn't allow you to question it becomes a cult. I may have my thinking, but if I don't allow you to question me, and I say, Pastor Mali, why do you talk about great people? Why do you talk about evidence? Stop. Then it means I'm brainwashed. It means I'm also believing in a cult because I don't allow you to speak. So I need to allow you to speak, hear your thought process, and I share with you my thought process. And once we exchange ideas, I can either move a bit or you can either move a bit, and somehow we may have a meeting point, or we can grow intellectually together. Otherwise, the cult will say, don't speak that. You are wrong. You are homophobic. You are witch hunting. No, you are not. Because I've worked with you, I've seen you protecting people. And I know where your thought process comes from. Because actually, I know that, for example, there are homosexuals in Uganda, like elsewhere in the world. But should I protect them when they are committing crime? No. When they are sodomizing kids? No. If they are doing wrong things, I will say no. Just like someone who is like me, I'm heterosexual, having sex with a child is wrong. It's completely wrong. So a cult will never allow Pastor Mary to speak. Just like any other cult, you must not speak. I was giving an example of political cults, and I was giving an example of NOP, the National Unity Platform, where people say, "Baby, we're in Tassobia," and I say, once we begin seeing that in a party, it means that party is dying. The same example I was giving was the kingdom of Uganda. I come from that kingdom, but people say Kabaka Tassobia, and I say wrong. Kabaka makes mistakes. He's a human being like me. If he makes mistakes, us, the subjects, are going to say the king is wrong here. The king is right here. So in brief, Pastor Malik, I want to thank you so much. I'm going to invite you to give us your conclusion. It was nice having you today. And I do think and believe that actually our followers, our viewers have been able to learn so much from you today. I want to invite you to give us your conclusion and then set it back again for the next show on cults.
Thank you very much, my brother Kato. I want you to understand me very, very clearly. I handle this subject with all objectivity because I want people to understand. I don't want to intimidate. I don't want to belittle. I don't want to stupefy, but I give you wholeheartedly so that you are able to use all your faculties, your thinking, your reasoning, your understanding, your memory, so that you can use your faculty, which is the decision-making process. At the end of the day, it's you to make a decision, to say, yeah, I think from what he has told, this is a cult. From what he has told, no, I think we are safe. I'm giving you the principles, the whole lot. Today, I've given you an introduction, broad introduction. And I've started the definition of cults broadly, but then zeroing in on the price definition, we just handled the first part, which we've equated to bush clearing or brainwashing, deprogramming. Okay, now then and I've just touched it, defined it. That process of sowing seeds will continue from there next week or next time. Just be sure that I'll come back, and I think invite your friend, send your friend the link, even your family member. Jesus said, "You know the truth, and the truth." I don't restrict your understanding, and I'm not pumping you that you believe this. I'm not even blocking you from consultation. I'm just opening your mind wide. You can consult, you can ask, you can come to Coimpa and seek the Tvevagas. You can even Google. The David Koresh's are there, the Jim Jones are there. All these things are open. Bishop Gilbert there is there. What I've said about Kakande is all over the internet. So I'm not restricting you. So be broad-minded. Open up your mind to learning and understanding. If you know the truth will set you free. If you have any other question that you want to ask regarding the topic today's, my phones are 0772479386 or +256 772 479 and 0702 1965 11. So those numbers are mine. You can ask me anything regarding what we've learned today. I'm a farmer besides. I'm a poultry farmer. I'm a hatcher. If you want quality day-old chicks, crows, broilers, locals, you can come to our hatchery, book, place your order. You can even place it on phone using mobile money. Don't worry, you'll get your chicks in time for delivery comes. If you have one to hatch, bring them. We'll give you good service so that you also become a farmer. I'm a critic of Bazungu who have come in with just feeding us and not allowing us to nurture the process of feeding ourselves. They come in with the broilers, they sell them to you, they sell you the feeds, they sell you the drugs. Then when it comes to you selling your products, they say, no, please, we cannot buy your products because they are contaminated with aflatoxins, contaminated with drugs. They are the people who sold you the day-old chicks. They are the ones who have sold you the feed. They are the ones who have sold you the drugs. Now you want to sell, they say contaminated. And I'm saying, why don't we develop our own, grow our own? Rear your broiler chick, local chick, or any other, which you can multiply locally. You buy the feeds here, you buy the bad chick here. Okay, you buy the drugs, of course, from them. But when it comes to sell, you are selling it to a fellow Ugandan. You are selling it to a person who grows cotton and is paid a poor price because cotton seed cake cannot be sold. Yet cotton seed cake is the pie product that can be used in chicken feed. You are given a low price because you are not supporting your own farmer by buying their produce. You're not buying their soya. You're buying feed with soya grown in Brazil, feed with soya grown in Canada, feed with a cotton seed cake grown in Brazil, in India, not Uganda. Yet the market you have is for Ugandans who are not empowered. That's why there is mass poverty in this country, and that poverty will not go unless we learn to buy our own products, our own homegrown and our own farmers, because they are our consumers. So finally, I want to bid farewell until we meet again. My urge and call
Mr.
cults.
Network challenges, right?
So that can know the truth, and the truth sets you free. I always feel pain when I hear someone telling me that I was defrauded by Pastor so and so, I gave my land to so and so, I was sodomized by so and so, I was ripped off, yet an opportunity was not availed. But here you have an opportunity to know the truth, and the truth. I thank the Humanist TV for the opportunity, partnering with me to educate our people, to educate the man. Not only in Uganda, in the entire Africa and the world, Africans can be manipulated. If Europeans can be manipulated, stupefied about Ugandans in impoverished Africa. Alert you until we meet again next time. To tune. Also notify your friend. You can even go on YouTube, watch, then after watching, you send a link to your colleague so that that person also gets this teaching. Jesus said, "You know the truth, and truth will set you free." It's not arms that are going to set you free. It's not weapons that are going to set you free. It's not the too much gospel you hear that's going to set you free. It's the truth that you're told that will set you free. May God bless you.
Thank you so much,
We
Pastor
are in
Male.
Kawempe. When you get to Kawempe station, you get a boda to Pastor Male. Quality feed. When you get to Kawempe, take Tula Road, the road from Kawempe to Mpere in Chiganda zone. That's where Male Quality Poultry and Animal Feeds is. Here where I am is the hatchery. You can book your chicks here and bring your eggs here. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Male. Our viewers, the numbers of Pastor Male are right on our screen. Dennis has been putting them on our screen. Right on our screen is the number of Pastor Moses Solomon Male, the pastor behind empowering our people to think critically about issues that actually go unchallenged. Pastor Male gives us that critical voice of understanding issues from a perspective of a religious scholar, very well read, as we have had him. He's knowledgeable, he knows what he says, but again, he makes us think better about issues that we normally take for granted. He's here to awaken our people to think better about issues that put us into poverty. Pastor Male's numbers are right there. The M10 number is there, and the Airtel number is there. Please contact him for more information, but also contact him for business. He has a hatchery. He deals in poultry farming, of course, chicken rearing and selling and all that. It is Pastor Male there. He does humble job, good job, and of course, we are partnering with him to be able to continue educating our people, empowering them, especially out of poverty, because poverty is the cause of all this kind of confusion. We shall be back with him next weekend. That is Pastor Male in the studio with us. Thank you for saving time. Thank you for being part of us. Of course, Dennis Bongo in the studio. Thank you for the good work. See you in the next one.